الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Until now, the author was speaking about those instances where you have other chains of transmission for the same narration, but the one weakens the other. So now he moves on to speak about those instances where you have other chains of transmission, but the one would strengthen the other. And this here is known as Mutāba'āt. And you will see when we go through the ibarat that compared to other chapters here, he goes into much detail. So Mutāba'āt, one of the literal meanings is also muwafaqa. If you look in al-Mu'jam al-Wasit, they say taba'ahu. One of the meanings they give is wafaqahu alayhi. So when someone is in agreement with another person, then he is following that person. So therefore you can see how the two are linked. This is the literal meaning. When you look at the technical meaning, then it is where one narrator quotes via the same sahabi, the exact same narration like another. Sheikh Nuruddin Itr rahmallah writes the definition here in the footnotes as al-mutaba'a hiya muwafaqatu ar-rawi li ghayrihi fi ma rawahu min tariq as-sahabi nafsihi. That it is where one narrator agrees and he narrates the same thing like another narrator, and it goes via the same, it is transmitted via the same sahabi. So in short, it is a support to clarify that a particular narrator is not the only one narrating a particular hadith. Rather, there are others there, or maybe even one person. There is another person who is also narrating from that a particular sahabi, the exact same narration with and via the same sahabi. So Ibn Hajar rahmallah would give an example later on, but for us here, you can see from what we done already, if you have to turn back to the chapter of Shadh, then you will see there that in the example of Shadh, he mentioned that مثال ذلك ما رواه الترمذي والنسائي وابن ماجه من طريق ابن عيينة عن عمرو بن دينار عن أوسجة عن ابن عباس أن رجلا توفي على عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولم يدع وارثا إلا مولا هو أعتقه. So he mentions that this is how Ibn Uyayna is mentioning it, and he's mentioning it from Amr ibn Dinar. But thereafter he says وَتَابَعَ. So these are the words which you are going to find. تَابَعَ. There is a mutaba'a for Ibn Uyayna, because you have Ibn Uyayna rahimullah narrating it in a particular way, and you have Hamad bin Zayd rahimullah narrating it in another way. So now you need to see where there's support. And if you go back to the chapter of Shadh, you will see that there were multiple chains of transmission, and there's a lot of support for Sufyan bin Uyayna, and therefore the way he narrated the narration was preferred. So that was an example of mutaba'ah, and it also shows you the result and the benefit we got out of that mutaba'ah, of how we chose which narration will be mahfuz and how we chose which narration is a shadh. To go through the ibarah, Ibn Hajar rahmallah says, وَمَا تَقَدَّمَ ذِكْرُهُ مِنَ الْفَرْدِ النِّسْبِ إِنْ وُجِدَ بَعْدَ ظَنِّ كَوْنِهِ فَرْدًا قَدْ وَافَقَهُ غَيْرُهُ فَهُوَ الْمُتَابِعُ بِكَسْرِ الْمُوَحَّدَةِ. Now here, if you have to look at this text, the way it's rather strange here how he is joining the text with the commentary. So the original Nukhbatul Fikr, because if you have memorized it, or if you're going to memorize it after this lesson, you will see that in Nukhbatul Fikr it's mentioned like this here, wal fardun nisbi in wafaqahu ghayruhu fahuwa al-mutabi'. So the wa is first mentioned. You can see after the wa, it is words ma taqaddama dhikruhu. And then in Nukhbatul Fikr, it's wal fardun nisbi. So the ibara there, the word fard is a mubtada, and therefore it has a dhamma. But here you can see when you're reading it, the way he's joining it and making it into one kitab, it's actually changing the i'rab, and it's minal fardin nisbi. Then the word in Nukhbatul Fikr, it's linked directly with the word in wafaqahu. Here it's linked with the word in wujida. So this here was not the most ideal, and therefore you will find commentators here objecting. Mullah al-Qari rahmallah, he mentions that al-wawu atifatun lil-matni ala al-matni wa lish-sharhi ala al-sharhi fa bi'atibari al-matni يرفع الفرد. The word فرد was supposed to get a ضمة وباعتبار الشرح gets a كسرة. ومثل هذا المد لا يستحسنه المحققون. He's saying that this year to join two books in this way, it's not something which is the most ideal, and many scholars would not like it. And therefore, you will find that the very own students of the author objected on him. For example, Alama Baqai rahmallah said, Al-Fardu fil matni mubtada, and therefore it has a dhamma. So the word fard, it's wal fardu, so it has a dhamma. وفي الشرح مجرور فهو مخل بالمزج. Likewise, Kamal ibn Abi Sharif, he also raised an objection. So Alama Laqani rahmallah, he dismisses all of this here by saying, Kalamun la ta'ila tahtahu, that there's no benefit in all of this. And Mullah al-Qari rahmallah says, لكنه لما غلب الشرح على المتن وجعله ككتاب واحد ساغ له ذلك. Because the amount of commentary is much more than the amount of the original text, and he made both of them into one kitab, and it's his own kitab also, therefore it is fine for him. And Alama al-Qani then clarifies that Ibn Hajar rahmallah is not the only one who done this here. He says, له أسوة بجماعة من المحققين. Mullah al-Qari rahmallah mentioned there that لا يستحسنه المحققون. And what Alama al-Qani is saying, له أسوة بجماعة من المحققين. So the alif lam on the word muhaqqiqun, it's not all of the muhaqqiqun. So you say, أنزل المتن وشرح منزلة كلام واحد خصوصا وربهما أنا واحد. Nevertheless, he could have mentioned the exact same thing in a way that it would have not altered the i'rab and it would have not raised so much objections. For example, he could have said, wal fardun nisbi al mutaqaddam dhikruhu. In that case, his exact same thing what he is trying to say here would have been conveyed, and there wouldn't have been so many objections on him. Then he's now here saying, وَمَا تَقَدَّمَ ذِكْرُهُ مِنَ الْفَرْدِ النِّسْبِ. So you done a fardun nisbi is where there is tafarrud somewhere lower in the chain. Isn't that what we done? That one is fardul mutlaq, where it's in the beginning of the chain. That means, and we said that the preferred view is that it's just after the sahabi. And then al-fardun, so you're taking the sahabi as the top and then coming down. So lower in the chain, when there is tafarrud, you have only one person narrating it. You remember we done all this under the chapter of gharib. There's only one person narrating it. Then that is called al-fardun nisbi. So you have one person who is narrating it from a few people, and those few people are narrating it from even more, and they are narrating it from others, and they are ultimately then narrating it from the sahabi, or from one sahabi or many sahaba, and then they are narrating it from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was al-fardun nisbi. So he is now saying that what you understand from here is that if there is a solitary narrator, and only one narrator is lower in the chain, and thereafter he finds a support, that means someone else also narrates it, then it will be called a mutabi'. So here, when he is saying it like this here, it would mean that if there is a fardul mutlaq, then that would not be regarded as for there you cannot have any mutaba'ah. But this here is not the case, and therefore you will find that again here that scholars raise objection. So some first try to explain the alif lam in the word al-farad, that were in al-farad al-mutlaq law taba'ahu rawin. They're saying that this alif lam and from it's not confined, it's not restricted to al-faradun and nisbi, because the exact same thing what he's saying here about fardun nisbi, he could have said it could be said for al-fardul mutlaq. So if a tabi'i, if you find support for another tabi'i, that means first someone saw a tabi'i is the only one narrating from a particular sahabi. Thereafter they found it, no, there is also another tabi'i, he was also. So you can say that this there is mutaba'ah, and this person is a mutabi'ah for that tabi'i who you assumed he was only one, and therefore there is support in this narration. You could call it a mutaba'ah. سينا اليواقيت والدرر it comes وتخصيص ذلك بالفرد النسبي أورد عليه أن المتابع قد يكون في الفرد المطلق. The exact same thing could be said with regards to a فرد المطلق. And al-Malaqani rahmallah, he also criticized this here by saying كذا قيل وفيه نظر لأنه ليس الكلام مفروضا فيما أثبت فرديته بل فيما يشك في فرديته. You see, yeah, that he's saying that in wujida ba'da dhanni kawnihi fardan, that if it's fardun nisbi, it means that there's no other support for it. That's how it's fard. It's a gharib. There's only one person in this. So first you assumed that there's only one narrator in this particular link of the sanad. Then after that, now you wondered whether it's this person the only one who is narrating from the sheikh. So you done a research. We'll do later on that research is called i'tibar. And you went through and you tried to find, is there anyone else who narrates it? And then you find that there was indeed someone else who also narrated it from that exact same sheikh, or maybe higher up in the sanad. So he's saying that that will be a mutabi'ah. So he's saying that here to say that this here is the after the result of what you found. But here we are talking first about that. So in the result is that you will now have a mutabi'ah for that fard narrator. So it doesn't make a difference whether it's fardul mutlaq, whether the singularity is there in the tabaqa of the tabi'un, or whether it comes lower in the sanad. Then he offered an excuse for Ibn Hajar and he said, وَلَعَلَّ تَقْيِيدْ بِاعْتِبَارِ الْكَثِيرِ, that many times when they look for mutaba'at, they try to find it lower or down in the sanad, because in the era of tabi'un, firstly it was khairul qurun. So honestly, there was no one who could compare to them. And thereafter, it was in that time there was so much knowledge that for many you have for many Sahaba, so Tabi'un obviously would go and sit at the feet of Sahaba. So you have many Tabi'un already, multiple Tabi'un already. So therefore it doesn't apply there. It's more when it comes lower, then scholars would do this whole research and try to find are there supporting chains, etc. So in short, although he's specifying it here in the same min al-fardin nisbi, we're saying that here this here just mentioned in passing. It's not a qid ihtirazi, rather it's just a qid ittifaqi. Mutāba'āt encompasses al-fardul mutlaq, and it encompasses al-fardul nisbi. So now to put the cherry on top, Ibn al-Hanbali rahmallah, he emphasized it in Far'ul Atif. And he said, فَدَخَلَ تَفَرُّدُ الصَّحَابِ بِالرِّوَايَةِ عَنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم ودخل تفرد غيره بالرواية مطلقا سواء كانت رواية فرد مطلق أو نسبي. So irrespective of whether there is only one narrator in the beginning of the sanad or lower down in the sanad at any link, if you have to now go and look for support and you find any support, you can call that support. You could use the word mutabi'ah for it. And on this narration, you can on this narrator which you initially thought, you could use the word mutaba' on it, and you could say that there is a mutaba'ah, and therefore you can see they use it in a verb form. So you will find this here very common actually, where they will say taba'ahu alayhi. Now, another thing which you could also derive from this text is a ruling on something else. Ibn Hajar rahmallah, he wrote قد وافقه غيره. He didn't say قد وافقه ثقة. So he left it like this here, broad. So al-Malaqani rahmallah, he said أطلق فيه فيشمل الثقة وغيره. That he mentioned it here in a broad sense, in a general sense, that he just said that you find someone else. Now whether that other person is ثقة, whether he's not ثقة, whether he's weak, he says فيشمل من الغير ما يعتبر حديثه وما يعتبر بحديثه وغيره. He's saying that irrespective of whether that person is strong or how strong he is, he then quotes Alama Iraqi specifying it to only those whose narrations are considered. That means the tamu dhab, or the memory is a bit weaker, but the narrations would still be regarded as Hasan. But then he quotes Alama Ghazi and Alama Baqai rahimahumullah is saying that قِيل الَّذِي يَظْهَرُ مِنْ تَصَرُّفَاتِهِمْ, that when we have to go and explore and look at how the scholars would use the word mutaba'a, then we find that even if there is a weak narrator, they would use the word mutaba'a. عدم التفرق بين الواهي وغيره بتسمية مشاركة كل منهما متابعة. وإن كان متابعة الواهي لا تفيد المقصود. He's saying that one is the name you are calling it, and then the second is the power of that narration. So yes, you can call it all mutaba'a, But if a person is a kadhab, for example, now if he is agreeing with someone who is maybe just a little weak, it's not going to strengthen his narration. So even though it doesn't provide any strength, but that's a separate issue. One is we are looking at the terminology which you can use, the definition which you can use. So the term, you could use the word mutaba'ah there, it will be fine. But it won't have the strength like a mutaba'ah of someone who is of equal standing. وهو الحجية إذا كانت الطريق الأخرى غير قوية. And so in this statement of Alama Ghazi, he used the word قيل. So Alama Laqani rahmallah then said وهذا القيل هو ظاهر إطلاق المصنف هنا. That this the word that the Musannif is using, the word غيره. So this here we can see it's actually although they use the word of siqatul tamriz, the word qil, but it's what the Musannif rahmallah is preferred. And therefore in Im'an an-Naḍar you will see the أطلقه فشمل الثقة وغيره لكنه مقيد بما يعتبر بحديثه كما ذكر ابن الصلاح ومن تبعه كالعراقي وغيره. فإن من باب المتابعة والاستشهاد وإن كان قد يدخل فيه رواية من لا يحتج بحديثه وحده بل يكون معدودا في الضعفاء لكن ليس كل ضعيف يصلح لذلك ولذا يقول دار قطني فلان يعتبر. So this here is taking it from Ibn Salah rahimahullah, that one is like we're saying that you can call it all mutaba'at, but then some their mutaba'at would not be considered and others their mutaba'at would be considered. Now Ibn Hajar rahimahullah says wal mutaba'atu ala maratib. So here he's using the plural maratib, and you know in Arabic you get singular, dual and plural. So there's an objection because if you look now, he's mentioned that it has different categories, but he's only going to mention two different categories. إن حصلت للراوي نفسه فهي التامة وإن حصلت لشيخه فمن فوقه فهي القاصرة. So he only mentioned two, but he brought a plural word. He didn't say martabatan. He said maratib. So it could probably be because the second type, which is qasira, as we're going to explain it now, it has many different categories, and you will see how from how we're going to explain it. Like Alam al-Qani rahmallah says that ala anna al-qasira wahdaha ala maratib li'annaha imma fi shaykh. That's one category. Or shaykh shaykhihi. That's the second. Or halum majurra. Or it could be in the shaykh of the shaykh or of his shaykh. So like that, there are so many different categories. So Mullah al-Qari rahmallah then explained وَإِن كَانَ مَآلُهَا إِلَى مَرْتَبَتَيْن, that although they are maratib, but they all come down back to these two categories. So therefore he could use the plural word. It's fine for him to use the plural word there. So he says إن حصلت للراوي نفسه فهي التامة, that you have one is mutaba'atul tamma and one is mutaba'atul qasira. Now what is mutaba'atul tamma? You have a narrator and you assume that he is the only one transmitting a particular narration. Now, sometimes it could create doubt in your heart that Imam Malik rahmallah is such a popular narrator. He was an imam. He had thousands of students. How is it that only this particular narrator managed to get this narration from him? So that's one reason. Or maybe you're finding that one student is narrating it in a particular way, like how we showed from that example there under Shadh. That Sufyan bin Uyayna is narrating it in a particular way, and thereafter you have Hamad bin Zayd rahmallah narrating it in a particular way. So now the one narration will end up being Shadh, and therefore it's going to be discarded. And also, if you have to look the way Ibn Salah rahmallah described a person who is who narrates or his definition of shadh is with such a person who is not capable enough. He is the only person narrating it. So therefore, you have this kind of person, and now you need to check up, you need to search, and you want to know, are there others who also are narrating from that exact same sheikh? These are the key words. From that exact same sheikh, is there someone else who is also narrating it from him? So if you manage to find another person who is narrating from that exact same sheikh, so Imam Malik, for example, he has one student, and now you want to see that did Imam Malik rahmallah really narrate this here? So is there someone else who is also narrating it from Imam Malik, the exact same sheikh? Then that will be the most ideal, the perfect case, and therefore it will be called mutaba'atut tamma. So, and here you will see there's so many benefits which come out from this here. It already now, the main first benefit is that now this narration is no more going to be regarded as a gharib narration. It's going to be already an aziz narration, because now you have in this tabaqa, you first felt there is only one narrator here. But now you can see that there is another person. So that's why this here is the most ideal, it's the most perfect. سميت بذلك لمشاركته في الرجال السند كلهم. So from the if there's another student who is narrating from the same sheikh, and you'll see Ibn Hajar rahmallah in the last line is going to put emphasis that it has to go through the same sahabi. Yes, there's a whole issue which comes about between the sheikh and the sahabi, is there, if there's a difference, then whether that could be called a mutaba'ah or not. If we get time and we'll see how the lesson goes, maybe we can discuss a little bit about it. Otherwise, you'll do it in bigger kitabs. But the first is that is narrating from the exact same sheikh, and ultimately it goes back to the same sahabi. So this here will be called mutaba'at tamma, and it's the most ideal. So the important thing, like we're saying, is that it's necessary. The last line there you can see of page 74. وَلَكِنَّهَا مُخْتَصَّةٌ بِكَوْنِهَا مِنْ رِوَايَةِ ذَلِكَ الصَّحَابِ. Will come to that text. And Mullah al-Qari rahmallah actually also here with regards to Tama, he says, وَلَا بُدَّ فِي كَوْنِهَا تَامَّةً مِنْ اتِّفَاقِهِمَا فِي السَّنَدِ إِلَى النَّبِيِّ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. So these words, فِي السَّنَدِ إِلَى النَّبِيِّ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, like I say, if we get time, we'll come back to it, whether the whole sanad has to be the same or whether the sanad can be different. And then, so this is mutaba'atut tamma. So the exact same, you found a mutaba'a, you found another person who is narrating from that exact same sheikh. So now you can get this confidence that yes, Imam Malik rahmallah did indeed narrate this here. In that example there under Shaz, you can get the confidence that Amr bin Dinar, he did narrate it as a muttasil sanad. He didn't mention it like how Hamad bin Zayd rahmallah narrated it from Awsaja. And mentioning it that Awsaja rahmallah is the one who's transmitting it, it means there's a missing link, so you can get that. So that's mutaba'atu tamma. وَإِنْ حَصَلَتْ لِشَيْخِهِ فَمَنْ فَوْقَهُ فَهِيَ الْقَاصِرَةِ. So now say, okay, you're trying to see that Imam Malik rahmallah narrate this particular narration and you cannot find any support. So now you'll try to look for support higher up, because you want to now see that maybe if there's others who also mention this here, like what's established from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or when you are looking in the sanad, then how is it established? Is it a mursal narration or is it a musnad narration? So you try to look now higher up. And because you could not find anyone else narrating it from Imam Malik. So you see in the link of Imam Malik, is there anyone else who is narrating it? If not in that link, then you go higher up. So you go link by link, starting from the link which is directly above. So here it is called qasira. And qasira, as you know, it means deficient. Some will even call it naqisa. So the reason why it is called it, because it does not give us it does not give us confidence whether the particular narrator who we were looking for narrated it in that way. But on the other way, it does give us the benefit of showing that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did mention it, or it like how Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned it. So one is that particular narrator narrating from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and one is how others narrated it. So coming down from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it has been established. So this is the reason why it is called qasira, because from that particular sheikh. So سميت بذلك لقصورها عن مشاركته هو. Now the reason for looking for mutaba'at, like we say, higher, is that we want to confirm rather that there is some basis for this narration. So that we can, one is we have doubt on this particular sheikh transmitting it, but we will at least be content that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the one who is narrating it. And the goal is to try to find support as close as possible to the link which we are actually examining. And this here Mullah al-Qari rahmallah explains it, and he says, وَكُلَّمَا قَرُبَتْ مِنْهَا كَانَتْ أَتَمَّ مِنَ الَّتِي بَعْدَهَا. The closer you can get. So you couldn't find in that particular link. You are looking at Imam Malik, the students of Imam Malik, you couldn't find there. So now you're looking one link higher, that for Imam Malik, are there any mutaba'at? Are there any supporting chains? If you can find there, then that will be of a higher status. If you can't find there, then you look now from the teacher of Imam Malik. If you can't find a mutaba'a from the teachers of Imam Malik, then you look at the teacher of the teachers of Imam Malik until it comes to the Sahabi. So this is the closer you can find, tell that link which you were really trying to look for, that will be the best. And if you are unable to find the Mutāba'āt al-Tamma in that exact link which you are searching for, then you have to exert your effort to find in just one link higher. Then, so you check whether the Sheikh is the only one narrating from his Sheikh or there were others. And you see, if you see that that Sheikh is the only one who is narrating, then you now go to the next link. Like that, you're taking it link by link, so that the closer you can find to that initial link where you started your research from, the better it will be. And the higher you go up, the more deficient it becomes. So in short, you got متابعة التامة and متابعة القاصرة. متابعة التامة وهي أن تحصل المشاركة للراوي من أول الإسناد. Those of you who done kitabs before Nuzha an-Naḍar, you might have memorized this here. المتابعة القاصرة, and you know which kitab is being quoted from. وهي أن تحصل المشاركة للراوي أثناء الإسناد. So now, why look for all of these supporting chains if you already have one sanad? And if we said that gharib narrations could be authentic, so why look for all of this here? So Ibn Hajar rahmallah responds to this here, and he says, وَيُسْتَفَادُ مِنْهَا التَّقْوِيَةِ. That the benefit and the most important benefits is that this one chain will now strengthen the other. So the one narration strengthens the other, and because now you know that it's not only narrated from this one particular narrator from the Sheikh. And like we're saying, that sometimes a narration could be weak when looking at that one narrator, but when you find the supporting chain, that now it's no more da'if, it becomes hasan li ghayrihi. Isn't we done the definition of hasan li ghayrihi? So it's already now strengthening it from taking it out of the category of da'if and putting it into the category of hasan. And then sometimes it could raise it from hasan to sahih li ghayrihi. Isn't hasan li dhatihi? If it has a supporting chain, it then becomes sahih li ghayrihi. So it's now upgrading it even more. And then, like we said, that sometimes a narration could be assumed to be shadh, and because of that, you are going to now regard it as weak. But then you find mutaba'at, and due to that, it becomes saved, and now it is regarded as authentic. In the definition of shadh and munkar, like we saying that Ibn Salah rahmallah, he mentions الفرد الذي ليس في راويه من الثقة والضبط ما يقع جابرا لما يوجبه التفرد والشذوذ من النكارة والضعف. So if you have someone of that caliber, he in himself, he was not capable. Like also before giving the second example of munkar, وهو الفرد الذي ليس في راويه من الثقة والإتقان ما يحتمل معه تفرده. So once we find that support and we confirm that another person also narrated the same thing, we become content that now this narration is no more shadh and it is no more munkar. So this here is one of the greatest benefit, and that is why Ibn Hajar rahmallah only mentioned this one benefit. But then there are other benefits as well. For example, sometimes if you look the way a particular narrator has narrated a hadith, maybe there's a word which could have dual meanings. And the example which we are going to do here, we will actually show you that through the benefit of mutaba'at as well, we were able to specify one of the meanings, the example which Ibn Hajar rahmallah is going to give. So that's another benefit. So like that, there are many benefits of finding support, and it's something which many scholars would dedicate a lot of time to, that you have one narration and you go and you see that how did others narrate it? Did they narrate it in the same way? What words did they use? Firstly, starting from the sanad, did they narrate it in the exact same way like this particular narrator narrated it, or did they narrate it in another way? So now Ibn Hajar rahmallah gives the example, and he says, مثال المتابعة ما رواه الشافعي في الأم عن مالك عن عبد الله بن دينار عن ابن عمر. So remember these three names. Obviously you can remember Imam Shafi'i and you can remember Imam Malik. So Imam Malik is narrating from Abdullah bin Dinar, who's narrating from Ibn Umar. And how is narrating the hadith? أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الشهر 29 فلا تصوموا حتى تروا الهلال ولا تفطروا حتى تروه فإن غم عليكم فأكملوا العدة 30. So this last sentence here, فأكملوا العدة 30. فإن غم عليكم, if it is cloudy, فأكملوا العدة 30, then complete 30 days. Complete 30 days. So that means it must be 30 days. So this here is the example. And now Imam Shafi'i rahmallah, he narrated it like this here in his Kitab al-Fain غم عليكم فأكملوا العدة 30. And he then made istidlal from this portion here. He said that وَبِهَذَا نَقُولُ فَإِن لَمْ تَرَ الْعَامَّةُ هِلَالَ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ وَرَآهُ رَجُلٌ عَدْلٌ رَأَيْتُ أَنْ أَقْبَلَهُ لِلْأَثْرِ وَالْإِحْتِيَاطِ. So this is how he mentioned it in his and he also mentioned, it comes in, it's mentioned also in Musnad al-Shafi'i on page 103. So quickly to explain the narration, حَتَّى تَرَوُا الْحِلَالِ, that obviously if you don't have to see it with your own eyes, حَتَّى تَعْلَمُوا وَلَوْ بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدْلٍ, if another honest person had told you that they saw it. And then hilal, yeah, it's the alif lam is for ahd, it's referring to the hilal of Ramadan. So if it becomes cloudy, then فَأَكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ, it means that أَتِمُّوا عَدَدَ أَيَّامِ شَهْرِ شَعْبَانِ, for the month of Sha'ban, complete 30 days. That means don't fast on the next day. And this is the meaning which you get from this narration and from the way that Imam Shafi'i rahmallah has narrated it. But we'll see that there are others because of another way in which it's transmitted, which could have the exact same meaning like how Imam Shafi'i rahmallah is narrating. Then it will mean Imam Shafi'i is making riwayat bil ma'na, or it could have a completely different meaning, and in this case a completely opposite meaning. So therefore there is a need to find a mutaba'ah. So there's quite a bit to discuss about it. So inshallah we'll discuss it. We're hoping today to finish till the end of mutaba'at. So on Saturday we could do a shahid and a i'tibar, but nevertheless we only managed to reach till here. So maybe on Saturday the lesson will be a bit longer so that we can try to complete inshallah the whole until there for this part inshallah. So until then, jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.